NATO's frontline allies fear they will be next after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's devastating invasion of Ukraine has shocked Baltic NATO members, who fear becoming future targets of Russian aggression. These countries along the front line of the military alliance are now scrambling to ensure they are protected should the Russian military come knocking. Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania have increased their defense spending, and NATO has increased its presence in the region due to the war in Ukraine. The prime ministers and other high-ranking government officials of these three countries recently spoke with Insider. They acknowledged that their forces might benefit from additional security guarantees and fighting capability. "There is an imminent need for a stronger NATO presence in our region," said Estonian Foreign Minister Urmas Reinsalu. "Russia is an existential threat, particularly for the countries of our region, but in a broader sense for all of Europe." Once a part of the Soviet Union, the three Baltic states in Europe's far northeast broke away after the Soviet Union's dissolution in 1991. These three nations have been sounding the alarm about Russia's threat to Europe ever since before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. Together, the Baltic countries share a border with Russia of more than 800 kilometers and a slightly longer one with Belarus, which many Western observers consider a puppet state of Russia. Lithuania, the southernmost Baltic state, shares a narrow border with Kaliningrad, a small military Russian exclave. These states are uneasy about being so close together. For nearly 14 months, the Russian military has been bogged down by its bloody war in Ukraine. Western intelligence services estimate that Russia has likely suffered more than 200,000 casualties, and a senior Pentagon official said in February that Moscow is likely to emerge from the fighting a shattered military power. But Russian fighting in Ukraine is no consolation to authorities in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, who fear that if they don't act now, they could be caught off guard if Russian President Vladimir Putin decides to declare war on NATO and choose the Baltics as his first battlefield. The Russian threat is worse now than before. As the Baltic countries seek a greater military presence on the ground, they also keep a close eye on defense spending by their own countries and by NATO in general. NATO's guideline for defense spending as a share of a member's GDP stood at 2% last year. Many countries fell short of this target, but all the Baltic countries surpassed it during the year, a sign of how seriously Russia's threatening actions are taken. Baltic government officials have stated that they want to increase the target percentage across the military alliance to 2.5% in the future. And they are eager to inform allies how much their spending has increased. "We have to make sure that we do everything in our power so that our partners don't think that we are." Free riders of American guarantees, Simonite told Insider about Lithuania's efforts to avoid looking like it's piggybacking on other members from NATO. And it is working on it. As an example of these countries' efforts to increase their capabilities, all the Baltic countries have sought to acquire US-made high-mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS, launchers, which Ukrainian forces have successfully used to attack Russian positions. Historically, these countries have been underdefended, and have not spent as much on defense as they should, Townsend said. But after Russia annexed Crimea for the first time, defense spending and training by the Baltics increased, and as the war in Ukraine drags on, NATO has increased its forward presence forces there. So, according to Townsend, as the threat landscape continues to change, the Baltic defense has adapted to it. The Baltics have always been concerned about their vulnerability. NATO has also been concerned about their vulnerability, he stated. But the Russian threat had not appeared to the extent that it has now. Thanks for watching.